Deep Dive, Sable Offshore. Part 8, The Strategic Pivot. The OS&T Solution. Okay, so let's chat about this OS&T plan. Sable's real plan B, when California's state and local regulators keep throwing up roadblocks on the onshore pipeline restart. It's not what they'd prefer, the pipeline is simpler and cheaper, but it's a legitimate fallback. And as of right now, early January 2026, with zero commercial sales happening yet, just offshore production flowing to storage at Las Flores Canyon, this offshore route is absolutely still in play and looking more relevant by the day. A critical friction point is federal environmental review. Even if jurisdiction is federal, opponents can challenge approvals under NEPA/ESA style theories, or demand supplemental review, turning the OS&T path into a procedural battlefield similar to other high-profile pipeline fights. Practically, that means the offshore workaround may be legally cleaner than California permitting, but not litigation-proof, and timing risk remains a first-order variable. What does OS&T actually involve? The whole point is to keep everything offshore in federal waters, beyond the 3-mile line, so no crude ever touches California's soil or state-controlled waters. Sable would bring in a floating storage and treatment vessel, basically a big moored ship, often a converted tanker or something FPSO style, positioned near the 3 platforms: Hondo, Harmony, and Heritage. Crude comes up from the wells, gets piped or hosed over to the vessel. There it goes through the same basic processing you see topside: 3-phase separation to pull out the water and gas, stabilize the oil, and store it in the vessel's tanks. Every few days or weeks, shuttle tankers pull alongside, load up the stabilized crude, and haul it away straight to refineries or terminals, potentially completely outside California for better netbacks and to avoid local politics. This isn't some untested idea for Santa Ynez. Exxon actually did exactly this back in the day. From 1981 to 1994, they ran an offshore storage and treatment facility, they called it OSTF, using a converted tanker on a single anchor mooring, about 3.5 miles offshore. It handled over 160 million barrels without major incidents. Importantly, the platforms still have a lot of the legacy infrastructure in place, things like a 12-inch subsea pipeline and utility lines that could be reactivated or tied into a new setup relatively quickly. Why this is such a powerful workaround? Here's the killer advantage. Jurisdiction flips to federal. The platforms sit in Outer Continental Shelf, federal waters, so the rules come from the Outer Continental Shelf Lands Act. The main players are BOM, Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, handles the overall plan approvals and leasing. BSE, Bureau of Safety and Environmental Enforcement, Safety, Environmental Compliance, Spill Response Plans. U.S. Coast Guard, Tanker Operations, Mooring Safety, Navigation, Oil Spill Readiness. California State Agencies, Coastal Commission, Santa Barbara County, State Fire Marshal. They have almost no direct say. No onshore permits required, no coastal zone pipeline impacts, no SB 237 CDP nonsense. Even if the Coastal Commission tries to throw a Coastal Zone Management Act consistency objection, the U.S. Secretary of Commerce can override it on national interest grounds. It's happened before, though it usually invites lawsuits. And Sable could ship the crude to ports or refineries outside California entirely, dodging state taxes, local reviews, or refinery politics. In today's federal environment, pro-energy priorities in Washington, approvals look a lot friendlier. Sable's already been talking to people in D.C., including the National Energy Dominance Council, and the company is pretty confident they'll get what they need from federal regulators. The trade-offs? Slower and more expensive no ones. Pretending this is as good as restarting the existing pipeline. Management has been upfront. Going the tanker route stretches the timeline and jacks up costs significantly. Rough timeline if they pivot. Submit revised development and production plan to BOOM/BCE, go through full environmental impact statement EIS review, even if expedited, that's realistically 12+ months. Secure and deliver the vessel, lease or buy/convert, targeting contract by late 2025, early 2026. Installation around Q3 2026. Platform modifications, mooring/buoy setup. First commercial offloads. likely Q4 2026, with capacity for greater than 50,000 barrels per day once fully ramped. Costs: vessel lease alone could run $100,000 $200,000 per day. Shuttle tanker ops, weather downtime, extra transfer steps, all push OPEX up by roughly $5 $8 per barrel compared to pipeline. Upfront capex probably $100 million plus in 2026. It's less efficient than a fixed pipeline, but it's doable and proven on this exact field. If Sable has to switch to offshore storage and tankers, it's a slow and expensive path. They would need new federal approvals, line up and modify a specialized vessel, and make offshore and subsea changes before oil can be sold. Even moving fast, that likely means no meaningful revenue until late 2026. The setup works and has been done before, but it costs a lot more than a pipeline and takes time that Sable doesn't have much of. The real risks here: cash burn drag. No revenue for another 9-12 plus months means the monthly burn, $25 to $40 million range, keeps eating liquidity. The $25 million cash covenant is already tight. Big equity raise or partner could mean dilution. Exxon note pressure. 15% PIK interest. Maturity at the earlier of March 31, 2027 or 90 days after first sales. A long delay could force another extension or concessions from Exxon. Execution and ops complexity. Tight vessel market, conversion timelines, marine ops risks, weather, spills, potential federal enviro lawsuits, EIS challenges, ESA issues. The 1980s tankering drew fierce local opposition over spill fears. Some of that sentiment could resurface. Going concern flags. Management has already warned about substantial doubt without timely sales or funding. OS&T buys survival time but amps up the financing hurdles. The biggest danger is running out of cash before this backup plan pays off. With no revenue for another 9 to 12 months, Sable keeps burning tens of millions of dollars a month and is already close to its minimum cash requirement. Delays increase pressure from Exxon, which holds very expensive debt that comes due soon after sales start. On top of that, offshore tankering is operationally complex and politically sensitive, and new lawsuits or environmental challenges could slow things further. In short, the tanker route can keep the project alive, but it raises financing risk and leaves little room for mistakes. Why it's still a smart backstop: if the pipeline stays blocked, SB 237 CDP delays, coastal demands, injunctions, ongoing litigation, OS&T keeps the asset breathing. It monetizes 112 wells, unlocks the about 45K barrels per day potential, and protects billions in NAV. It also flips the power dynamic. California loses tax revenue, jobs, and supply leverage, while Sable gains negotiating muscle. Federal backing could even include credit support or direct help. Bottom line: OS&T isn't the dream scenario. It trades economics for regulatory freedom, but it's credible, has historical precedent on this exact field, and gives Sable a real way forward if state politics remain hostile. As of January 8, 2026, with commercial flow still stalled onshore, this contingency is what keeps the upside alive. This is Avi. Like and subscribe. On to the next.